Greetings from No Cold War. Today, I have the great pleasure of hosting Bruce Gagnon of the Global Network Against Weapons and Nuclear Power in Space. He has worked on space issues for more than 40 years. Today, we have him on to talk about why we should oppose President Donald Trump's Golden Dome program. Hi, Bruce.
Hello, thank you very much.
So I'll just get started. My first question, on May 20th, Trump announced a proposal to spend $175 billion to create a golden dome that could intercept incoming missiles to the continental United States. The missile defense system would include hundreds of satellite-based trackers from Elon Musk's Starlink program, although there has been some debate about this given their recent falling out, and land and sea-based interceptors. Currently, there's a bill pending in Congress for the initial $25 billion for the program. And some think it will cost much more. In fact, original estimates put the cost at $500 billion. So my first question is, despite its high cost, the network has questioned the effectiveness of Dome. And can you please explain that?
Well, the cost the cost is insurmountable. The Congressional Budget Office is saying, despite Trump saying it's going to be about 175 billion, the congressional sources are saying it's going to cost anywhere between 550 billion to several trillion dollars. It's important to remember that today the United States is $37 trillion in debt. Now, how is Trump going to pay for that? There's only one way to do it: more debt and or cutting every remaining social program, environmental program that the United States has. And they've been cut to the bone already. So this is really a grave, grave problem for us. So, our contention is this has all been out there since Ronald Reagan in the early 80s. That's when I started working on this in 1982. And from then to the present moment, $400 billion has been spent trying to develop these technologies for war in space, basically, because in addition to land-based interceptors and sea-based interceptors, they want to have space-based interceptors. So it's been out there a long time, and what we're seeing today as Iran counterattacks after Israel attacked Iran, their missiles, and they're saying at this point they're using old missiles, not even their new hypersonics yet. They're not having much trouble breaking through Israel's Iron Dome, which was a joint US-Israel project. In fact, they tested the technologies at Kodiak Island in Alaska at a launch facility there over many years. So, this is something that the world needs to be paying attention to, because they're creating a new arms race, this time in space, at a cost that is unbelievable. And they're trying to drag other countries in as well.
Beyond the cost, could you talk a little bit about the implications that Golden Dome would have, like on peace? I think you've started talking about like an arms race. Also the impact that it would have on space exploration, right? And also just the environment.
Every time, excuse me, a rocket is launched today, the exhaust rises into the atmosphere and is punching a greater hole in the ozone layer. And so today you have the US and its allies trying to fill up lower Earth orbit with military satellites because they want to keep Russia and China and Iran and North Korea, other countries, out of the lower Earth orbit, because you can see things on the Earth, you can intercept communications, and you can coordinate your attacks. You can see when you're being attacked. So all of these launches, tens of thousands of rocket launches now, many of them by SpaceX, launching these Starlink systems, are destroying the environment, not only here on the Earth, but also the ozone layer. But it's a really terrifically destabilizing program. No country who has any belief in defending themselves. We know that the United States is always on the march, always trying to start wars, whether it's with Russia using Ukraine as a hammer, or with China using Okinawa and Taiwan, Japan, South Korea as a hammer against China. So, all of this is so destabilizing that people need to really be on the alert and understand what's happening.
Could you talk a little bit about, I believe that the US can't undertake this program by itself. It needs its allies. Could you talk a little bit about what this looks like, this effort might look like, and what are the implications that it would have on different US allies? I know that South Korea actually houses a US Space Force unit to coordinate these kind of efforts to create, to assure interoperability, a lot of these things. So yeah, which US allies are involved in this process, and what is the implication to them of this?
Yeah, it's a really good question. As you said, the US now has a Space Force base at Osan in South Korea. They've also now created a Space Force unit in Japan. And throughout the Asia Pacific, they're drawing in Australia, New Zealand, and other countries into the program. And you use the word interoperability. This is a very important concept because interoperability basically means that the allies are brought into the program because it's so expensive. They have to pay for some part of it to help defray the cost for the United States. And so then all their systems are tied together into this interoperable program where it all works together. But there's just one downside. The tip of the spear is controlled by the United States. And so even though Korea or Japan or other countries might be part of the system, they don't have any say how it's used, when it's used, where it's used. You just really are truly puppets. And at the same time, the United States is dragging the UK in, Germany, and other European countries within NATO. They're going to be hitting up all the NATO countries as well to help pay for it. Recently, a couple of years ago, it was NATO countries had to increase their contribution to NATO to 2%. Now they're saying they have to increase it to 5% of their GDP, and they'll soon be asking for more. And they'll all say it's going to be an interoperable system. But again, the US will be in charge of the tip of the spear. But the plan of the United States is to create a global Star Wars program that would be able to see everything, hear everything, and target every place on the earth below anytime it wishes. And we know that the people that they want to go after, they want to go after BRICS, the new economic institution that much of the global south is joining, that is an alternative to the IMF World Bank exploitation program that they have. And so they're going after Iran right now. They want to take them down. Iran provides most of China's oil and natural gas to them. They want to take down Russia and China, of course. And so they're really trying to break up BRICS. It's the last desperate gamble by the Western-based colonizers. This is what's happening today. And they see space technology as being a key instrument in that whole program.
Great, thank you. And what can people do to oppose this Golden Dome program? And yeah, what's the likelihood that the $25 billion will pass through Congress? And what do you see as the prospects so far?
Yeah, I think it is very likely to pass. When the US Space Force was created in the year 2020, Trump was president the first time. It went to the House of Representatives. It was controlled by the Democrats at that time. And the Democrats said, we don't like the name Space Force, change the name to Space Corps, like the Marine Corps. Well, they lost on that, but then they voted for it. The Democrats could have stopped it. So this is a bipartisan program. I want to say that. But what can be done? First of all, you can't, Noam Chomsky always says, you can't fight something if you don't know about it. And so what we're doing now, trying to educate people, is prime concern. On our website, spaceforpeace.org, I hope you'll put a link in the description of the video. You go to our menu, our resource section, and we have two things there. One is a statement about Global Network statement about our opposition to Golden Dome, and we're asking people to sign on to it. Actually, I think we have more people from South Korea on there than any other country. It's been a tremendous response from South Korea. And also in that resource section of our website, we have a lot of videos that we've been collecting over many, many years. And so we urge people to go and look at those and share them and help educate other people. We need more coalitions being built around the world. And in the UK, they've now created a group called UK Space Watch because there's a lot of new launch sites being developed there. The US is trying to get the Allies to build launch sites all over the world. Lockheed Martin comes in and takes them over after they're built. They always say they're going to be used for civilian purposes, but almost in every case, all they do is launch military things. So anyway, and I think finally we need a lot of public protest. Every year in October, we have a Keep Space for Peace week, and we urge people to go out during that week and organize events of every kind to educate the public in your particular part of the world about how your country is being dragged into it and how it fits into this larger warfighting system.
And yeah, this is like such a complex issue with the long history, and you yourself have like been active in this field for such a long time. And of course, I feel like we're just literally scratching the surface of it. Could you talk a little bit about like kind of like what has been the reaction from like China, let's say, or other countries that perhaps this is targeting?
Yeah, for I'd say 30, more than 30 years, every year, China and Russia go to the United Nations General Assembly and introduce a resolution calling for a global ban on weapons in space, a new treaty. The old treaty, the Outer Space Treaty, banned weapons of mass destruction in space. But now they have what they call at the Pentagon weapons of selective destruction, which fall outside of the original treaty. So a new treaty is needed. The idea is close the door to the barn before the horse gets out. All right. Let's ban weapons in space now. So anyway, they take a vote, a non-binding vote at the General Assembly, and the world votes in favor of this new treaty. They love it. They think it's important. It'll stop a new destabilizing arms race. But the United States and Israel vote no. It's then sent to Geneva, Switzerland, to the Permanent Conference on Disarmament for negotiation as a treaty, because it was just, again, a resolution that passed the General Assembly. So when it goes to Geneva, the United States and Israel block the treaty during Republican and Democrat administrations. And what they say is in the United States, hey, there's no problem. We don't need a new treaty. There are no weapons in space. Don't worry about it. The reason why the United States says that is because they want to be the master of space. In fact, at the Space Command headquarters in Colorado, at the Peterson Air Force Base, above the doorway, they have their logo, Master of Space. And in a planning document, 1997, by the Space Command, called Vision for 2020, they said the United States will control space, dominate space, and deny other countries access to space. So we, 3% of the world's population in the US, will be the master of space. Well, Russia and China and other countries are not going to go along with that. And so we're going to see, and we now see Russia and China developing their own capabilities to deny the United States the ability to deny other countries access to space. Well, it's very destabilizing. And then one last thing that's really crucial. They want to go out and mine the sky. They say there's on the moon, there's water and helium-3. On Mars, there's magnesium and cobalt and uranium. And they want to go there and mine for these precious resources. So in a Pentagon document in 1989 called Military Space Forces the Next 50 Years, they said whoever controls the Earth Moon gravity well, the pathway on and off the planet, will be able to determine who gets to go out and mine the sky in the future. So I think one of the reasons, excuse me, for this Golden Dome is to surge the investment in technologies to create the ability to control the pathway on and off the planet Earth in the years ahead, so that the United States will determine, and its few allies will determine who can go out and profit from mining the sky. So there's
Great.
many aspects to this whole thing that people should be aware of.
Great. Thank you so much. I think this is clearly an issue that we'll be just, keeping an eye on for the for the coming future, and we will of course love to have you here again. And any concluding remarks?
No, I think I said it all, but I really appreciate the interview, and I'm glad to see that there are other people that are interested in this. We created the Global Network in 1992 for the principal purpose to educate people around the world, to build a constituency, a base of people who would oppose this, because we're only going to defeat it if it's a global movement. So we're happy to see your interest, and we thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for being here with us.